Was Windows XP really that good? Let's find out. Windows XP, as many of you may know, was one of the most popular versions of Microsoft Windows ever released. Released in October 2001 for worldwide sale, it was a massive success and a major overhaul of Windows. The user interface was revamped and made to be more user-friendly than in Windows 2000 or Windows ME, both released a year prior to XP. XP was also renowned for its ability to connect to wireless networks. It made it easier to connect to hotspots or wireless networks. Good thing this happened too, as internet usage had grown exponentially between 1995 and 2001. Windows XP had also introduced many new themes, including Luna, Zune, Royale Noir, and Royale, seen in the Media Center edition of XP, first released in 2002, and the last edition of that was made in 2005. Windows XP was also the first edition of Windows to offer a 64-bit edition. However, unlike later versions, the 64-bit edition of XP failed and was not used by many, as the 32-bit architecture was still dominant around 2003, when 64-bit machines came on the scene, and even by 2005, the year that the x64-bit edition lost all support, 32-bit was still very common, but the slow progression towards 64-bit was already happening, as there are a number of advantages to using the 64-bit architecture, but we will leave that right there. Windows XP was also the first to combine both home and professional editions into a single version, unlike previous iterations, such as 2000, ME, 98, NT 4.0, etc., which were either for home users or specifically for business. XP made this a thing of the past and offered everyone the same quality and amount of features. Of course, the professional edition always has more and better features, but the home edition is suitable for home users. While it was a massive hit with the Windows user base, many also criticized the UI for its little tyke-like design. Many claimed XP to be Fisher-Price looking, in terms of aesthetics, but overall, it was adored and loved by many. However, some of the major downsides were that XP had a lack of any built-in security features, except for a firewall, but it lacked any kind of antivirus, or even a user account control screen that we all take for granted. This was introduced in the legendary Windows Vista that was also a massive failure, like Windows ME, but Vista had lots of great values, aside from the negative connotations surrounding it, one of which was the new user account control feature, which asks users to confirm if they want to run the software they want to install. It also lets you know who the publisher or developer is. XP was also somewhat hated in the first year of it being released, but when Microsoft released their first Service Pack for it, Service Pack 1, that addressed lots of issues, but still did not fix the problem of lack of built-in security features. Although many serious vulnerabilities were fixed, new features and functionality was added, up until Service Pack 3, released in April of 2008. This was the last major update Windows XP would see, and mainstream support ended in that same month 1 year later, in April of 2009. An extended support for XP ended on April 8, 2014, which meant that XP had the longest lifespan ever seen in a Windows version. No other version has been supported for more than 10 years. Microsoft usually only supports their systems for about 10 years in total. This has been the case with Windows Vista 7, 8.1, 10, and possibly for future releases, such as 11 and 12. Windows XP was also notable for having relatively low system requirements, so users of ME or 2000, or possibly even 98, could upgrade without any issues, and for even older PCs. A fundamental legacy edition was released in 2006, which was specifically for, as you may have guessed, lower-end PCs that did not meet the minimum requirements to run the full-fledged XP. So a stripped-down version for businesses especially was developed and released, but it lacked many of the features that Windows XP Home or Pro had. Windows XP's successor would not come until about 5 years later, in November of 2006, when Windows Vista officially was released to manufacturing. Vista introduced revamped user interface. A new theme called Era was introduced and had many people going crazy back in the day, as it looked really nice compared to XP's more bland and bulky interface. It also made searching for files and programs a hell of a lot easier, but it was met with heavy hatred and criticism. But Windows Vista was actually good once Microsoft had fixed most of the pre-existing bugs and issues. Once Service Pack 2 had come out, which had been released in 2009. A while away from the release of Windows 7, which was a massive success compared to Vista. Vista actually was good, but many stuck with XP thanks to its well-known stability, reliability, and user-friendly interface, and its compatibility with old software also made it perfect for legacy use, once it went out of extended support. So users who could not use specific software on Vista or later would often, and still do often, run XP either on physical hardware, or in a virtual machine. So, was Windows XP really that good, or bad? It was extremely well received and praised for its legendary new user interface and many great features. However, before Service Pack 2 for Windows XP, things were not so good. It took a while before the world really embraced it, as it does any version of Windows. It's just that some versions get much quicker adoption than others. And a perfect example of that is XP and Vista. XP did gain widespread use within the first few years of its life, while Vista only ever reached around 20% of PC users worldwide in market share, and often fluctuated, whereas Windows 7 would go on to also be a very dominant version of Windows, but it only ever got to about 40 to 50% of PCs worldwide. XP had that market share sometime earlier, but Windows 10 is now the most popular version of Windows to date. Despite this, many still remember XP for the new features and user interface introduced. XP had also helped Microsoft gain the majority of the market, as in 2006. It was apparent that XP was the most widely used system worldwide, on all desktop and laptop computers, so this goes to show you that it really was, and is as good, as people say it is. But it was also met with some critics, mainly surrounding security, and this was a significant issue for users back in the day, as malware could so easily infiltrate the Windows XP system, as not a single bit of security protection, except for automatic updates and a firewall, are included in XP. So many users did get infected, and this is why viruses were a massive problem. XP also had bugs and was not very polished before the first Service Pack was released, so while many remember it for its outstanding new features, user interface, and functionality, not many remember the shortcomings it had. But overall, XP, like 95, released 6 years prior, enjoyed a very fulfilled and lengthy lifespan, with many even remembering it as a childhood operating system. I also used XP when I was really young, and thus also have fond memories of it. But I have even more fond memories of 7 and Vista, and even 10 to some extent, but XP will always remain a fan favorite amongst those in the nostalgic community who want to run it to this day. Some people collect older PCs and put Windows XP on them for a retro project. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you next video. Bye for now.